Have you ever been in a situation where someone's words or actions completely pushed your buttons and you found yourself spiraling with anger? What if I told you there's a way to never let anyone get under your skin? Imagine being able to remain calm and composed no matter what others say or do. Sounds impossible, right? But it's not. In today's video, we're going to uncover 10 life-changing lessons that will teach you how to never get angry or bothered by anyone. These lessons are rooted in Stoic philosophy and will not only help you find peace in difficult situations, but will empower you to take control of your emotions and maintain your inner calm. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn will change how you approach conflict and challenge forever. 1. Realize that you can control only your own reactions. The first lesson is one of the most powerful. You can only control your reactions. When someone insults you, criticizes you, or annoys you, it's easy to feel like they are in control of your emotions. But here's the truth. No one can make you feel anything without your consent. Your emotions are your responsibility. The Stoics believed that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. The external world is beyond our control, but we have the power to choose how to react. When you stop expecting others to behave in a certain way to make you feel at peace, you take back your emotional freedom. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful quote reminds us that we have the ability to decide our emotional state no matter what others do. The key is recognizing this freedom of choice and taking ownership of our reactions. Example, personal story of controlling reactions. I once had a colleague who would always make snide remarks about my work. At first, I would get defensive, angry, and frustrated, thinking that their comments had the power to hurt me. But one day, I realized that I was giving them that power. So, I made a choice to not let their words affect me. The moment I took control of my response, I stopped feeling angry and found peace. By recognizing that you control your reactions, you will find it much easier to stay calm, even in challenging situations. You can choose not to take things personally, and in doing so, protect your emotional well-being. This is one of the most empowering lessons you can learn in life. 2. Understand that everyone has their own struggles. The second lesson is to remember that everyone has their own struggles. When someone treats you poorly or behaves in a way that bothers you, it's often a reflection of their own inner turmoil, not yours. People who lash out or criticize others are often dealing with their own frustrations, insecurities, or pain. When we realize this, we stop taking their actions personally and start approaching them with compassion instead of anger. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When we allow someone's negative behavior to affect us, we are imagining that their actions are about us. In reality, they may have nothing to do with us at all. Understanding that everyone has their own battles helps us remain detached and less affected by their behavior. Example, understanding others' struggles. I remember a time when a friend snapped at me over something trivial. Instead of reacting angrily, I took a step back and thought about what might be going on in their life. Later, I found out they were going through a tough time personally. By understanding their struggle, I was able to show empathy and respond with kindness instead of anger. When you realize that people's behavior often has little to do with you, it becomes much easier to let things go. This lesson will help you maintain peace and focus on your own emotional growth rather than getting swept up in someone else's drama. 3. Choose to respond, not react. The third lesson is to respond, not react. there's a big difference between the two. Reacting is automatic and impulsive, often driven by emotion. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate and thoughtful. When you react, you're essentially letting your emotions control you. When you respond, you take a pause, process the situation, and choose a thoughtful course of action. It's about being in control of your emotional state, rather than letting your emotions control you. As Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By learning to respond instead of reacting, we maintain control over our emotions and avoid acting impulsively, which often leads to regret. Example: responding, not reacting. I used to react to rude comments by immediately getting defensive or angry, but over time I realized that this only escalated the situation. Now, I take a moment to breathe, reflect, and then respond calmly and with purpose. This simple shift has saved me from countless unnecessary arguments and stress. By choosing to respond, you not only diffuse potential conflicts, but also strengthen your emotional resilience. You begin to master your own emotional state and protect your peace from external disturbances. 4. Practice detachment. Don't take things personally. One of the most powerful Stoic practices is detachment, the ability to remain emotionally separate from other people's opinions and actions. When you stop taking things personally, you free yourself from the burden of other people's judgments. People will always have opinions, but it's important to remember that those opinions reflect more about them than they do about you. By detaching yourself from others' criticisms or compliments, you stay grounded in your own sense of self-worth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." To live fully is to detach from external forces and to focus on internal growth. When we allow ourselves to be affected by others' opinions, we stop living for ourselves and start living for others. Example: letting go of criticism. I used to take things very personally when people criticized me, but after diving into Stoic teachings, I learned to detach from these judgments. Now, when someone criticizes me, I simply acknowledge their opinion and move forward, knowing it doesn't define who I am. Detachment empowers you to remain calm and unaffected by external influences. By not taking things personally, you can stay focused on your own path and cultivate a sense of inner peace that others cannot disturb. 5. Recognize that anger is self-inflicted. The next lesson is realizing that anger is self-inflicted. No one can actually make you angry unless you allow it. Anger arises when we assign meaning to a situation and choose to react emotionally. But what if you didn't assign that meaning? Stoicism teaches us that anger is a choice we make based on how we interpret events. By changing how we perceive situations, we can avoid falling into the trap of anger. Epictetus believed that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. This means that the source of anger is not the event itself, but the way we perceive and interpret it. By choosing a different perspective, we can prevent anger from taking root. Example: reframing anger in traffic. I used to get angry when someone cut me off in traffic, but once I understood that my anger was my own choice, I began to reframe the situation. Instead of seeing it as a personal affront, I started seeing it as a part of life. Since then, I've been able to stay calm and composed, even in the most frustrating situations. Recognizing that anger is self-inflicted gives you the power to stop it before it even starts. This shift in mindset will help you maintain control over your emotions and prevent you from reacting impulsively. 6. Focus on the present moment. Let go of the past and future. The 6th lesson is to focus on the present moment. When we're consumed by thoughts of the past or the future, we become vulnerable to anger and frustration. Stoics emphasize the importance of staying present and mindful in every moment. By focusing on the present, you stop worrying about things that are out of your control, such as what happened in the past or what might happen in the future. Instead, you can act with clarity and composure in the here and now. As Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When we focus on what we can control, our actions in the present moment, we free ourselves from the anxiety and anger that comes from dwelling on things beyond our control. Example: practicing mindfulness to stay present. I used to get angry thinking about past mistakes or worrying about the future, but when I started practicing mindfulness and staying present, I realized how much unnecessary anger I had been carrying. Letting go of the past and future allowed me to respond to situations with a clear mind. Focusing on the present moment brings peace and clarity. It allows you to make better decisions, respond calmly to challenges, and reduce unnecessary stress or anger. 7. Set boundaries. Protect your peace. Lesson 7 is about setting boundaries. People will often try to push your buttons, test your limits, and invade your emotional space. If you don't set clear boundaries, you'll constantly be dealing with unnecessary drama and stress. A boundary is a clear line that you set to protect yourself from people who might drain you emotionally, mentally, or physically. The Stoics teach us to protect our inner peace by being clear about what we will and won't tolerate from others. Example: setting healthy boundaries at work. I used to tolerate toxic behavior at work. People would constantly interrupt me during meetings, talk over me, or belittle my ideas. Eventually, I set clear boundaries by calmly but firmly speaking up and letting them know that I wouldn't engage in disrespectful behavior. This was a game changer as I regained control over my time and energy. By setting boundaries, you protect your emotional well-being and prevent others from crossing your lines. This lesson is a key part of maintaining inner calm. 8. Avoid expecting perfection from others. The 8th lesson is about letting go of the expectation that others will behave perfectly. Everyone has flaws, and expecting perfection will only lead to frustration and disappointment. The Stoics teach that we should accept people as they are, not as we wish them to be. When you stop expecting others to be perfect, you'll free yourself from unnecessary anger and irritation. Example: accepting people's flaws. I used to get angry when people would disappoint me or fail to meet my expectations, but over time, I realized that no one is perfect, and expecting them to be only led to frustration. Now, I try to appreciate people for who they are, flaws and all, and it has made me much more patient and calm. Letting go of perfection allows you to embrace people's imperfections and stop holding them to impossible standards. It gives you peace of mind and helps you build healthier, more realistic relationships. 9. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Lesson 9 is about focusing on what you can control, not what you can't. Often we get angry about things that are completely out of our control, like other people's actions, the weather, or traffic. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control: our reactions, our attitude, and our actions. When we spend less time worrying about the uncontrollable, we preserve our energy for things that matter. Example: focusing on what I can control. When I get stuck in traffic, I used to get really angry, thinking it was unfair and wasting my time. But then I realized that I couldn't control the traffic. Now I use the time to listen to podcasts or reflect, and I don't let the situation bother me anymore. By focusing on what we can control, we stop wasting energy on things that frustrate us and instead put our efforts into what truly matters. 10. Practice gratitude. Shift your focus to the positive. The final lesson is to practice gratitude. It's easy to get caught up in what's wrong in our lives and focus on the negative. But when we shift our focus to gratitude, it changes how we experience everything. Gratitude shifts our perspective and allows us to appreciate the good rather than dwell on the bad. Stoicism teaches us that when we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we find contentment and peace. Example: finding gratitude in difficult situations. Even during tough times, I've learned to find something to be grateful for. During stressful projects at work, I would focus on the opportunity to learn and grow rather than the pressure. This shift in mindset helped me stay calm and focused. Practicing gratitude helps you stop focusing on the negatives and instead appreciate the positives. This simple practice can keep you grounded, even in difficult situations. Conclusion: by learning these 10 powerful lessons, you can transform how you respond to others and stop allowing anger or frustration to take control. Remember, Stoicism teaches us to control our reactions, practice detachment, and live in harmony with what we can control. These lessons aren't just about avoiding anger. They're about creating a life where your peace and emotional well-being are no longer dependent on external forces. By adopting these principles, you can live a life that's more centered, more fulfilled, and free from the emotional chaos that others may try to impose on you. Call to action. What do you think? Which lesson resonates with you most? Drop a comment below and share how you plan to implement these Stoic principles in your own life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more empowering Stoic wisdom.